I have seen 300 cycles of stellar rotation in this galaxy, and in all that time I never thought I would witness the fall of Craraft the Destroyer. But here I am recording this testimony for the Galactic Council archives, hoping someone will believe what happened on Station Meridian that day. My name is Ven, a simple maintenance engineer for the Outer Rim Trading Consortium. I fix gravity stabilizers, patch hull breaches, and occasionally unclog the waste recyclers when some idiot flushes something they should not. It is not glamorous work, but it keeps my feeding tubes full and my carapace polished. The humans arrived on Station Meridian about 40 cycles ago. Small delegation, maybe 30 of them, all part of some cultural exchange program the council approved. Most of us figured they would stay a few rotations, get bored and head back to their little blue marble on the galaxy's edge. But humans, as I would learn, do not do anything the way you expect. The human who changed everything was named Riley Kozak. Not Sarah, not Chen, not any of the usual names you hear in those boring documentaries. Riley. Short, direct, efficient. Just like her. She stood maybe 5.3 feet tall in human measurements, which made her absolutely tiny compared to most station residents. The Cathedrai averaged 7 feet. The Morgath pushed 9, and Craraft himself towered at nearly 11 feet of pure muscle, chitin, and bad attitude. Riley had brown hair pulled back in what humans call a ponytail, dark eyes that missed absolutely nothing, and a smile that could either put you at ease or make you deeply uncomfortable depending on her mood. I first noticed her in Section 7, the engineering bay where I spent most of my shifts. She had signed up for a station tour, wanting to understand our propulsion system. Most visitors just nodded politely at our explanations, pretending to understand quantum field manipulation while secretly wondering when lunch would be served. Not Riley. Wait, hold on, she said, interrupting my supervisor's prepared speech. You are saying you create a localized gravitational eddy by inverting the polarity of the antimatter stream. But would not that create a feedback loop in the containment field? My supervisor, a Cathari named Tormund, blinked all 3 of his eyes in succession. That is the Cathari equivalent of being completely stunned. Yes, exactly. We compensate with secondary dampeners, but the power loss is significant. Have you tried a cascading buffer system instead? Stagger the field oscillations so they never peak simultaneously? Riley pulled out a small device, what humans call a tablet, and started sketching equations in the air with her finger. See, if you offset each buffer by 0.3 seconds, the resonance harmonics should actually reinforce the containment rather than stress it. Tormund stared at those equations for a long moment. Then he called over 3 senior engineers. Then he called the station administrator. Within 2 hours, Riley Kozak had revolutionized a propulsion system we had been using for 600 years. That was when Craraft noticed her. Craraft the Destroyer, as he insisted everyone call him, was a Morgath warrior from the contested zones. The Morgath are not pleasant on their best days. They evolved on a heavy gravity world with 6 major predator species, all of which apparently decided the proto-Morgath looked delicious. The ones who survived became fast, strong, and absolutely vicious. Their culture celebrates strength, all else, and weakness is not just discouraged but actively punished. Craraft had come to Station Meridian after some incident in the contested zones. Nobody knew the full story, but rumors suggested he had challenged the wrong clan leader and barely escaped with his life. He worked security, which basically meant he walked around looking intimidating and occasionally broke up fights in the lower decks. He was good at intimidation. He stood 11 feet tall with 4 arms, each capable of crushing a steel pipe. His exoskeleton was naturally black with red striations that pulsed when he got angry. His mandibles could bite through a hull plate, and his eyes, all 6 of them, tracked movement with predatory precision. Craraft had a hobby, though. He liked to bully people. Not physically, at least not often. He was smart enough to know the council would ban him from all civilized stations if he actually hurt someone. But psychological torture? That was fair game in his twisted worldview. He started with small things. Mocking a Valorian merchant's accent. Blocking doorways just to watch people awkwardly squeeze past him. Taking food from the weaker species trays in the communal dining area. The station administration did nothing because, technically, he was not breaking any laws. He was just being an absolute nightmare of a person. Then he noticed Riley. I was in the dining area when it happened, enjoying a nice bowl of protein slurry and monitoring a repair schedule on my datapad. Riley sat 3 tables away with 2 other humans, a male named Marcus and a female named Jin. They were laughing about something, sharing food from their trays. Humans do that, I learned. They share meals as a bonding activity. Craraft approached their table with his usual swagger. His footsteps were deliberately heavy, making the deck plates vibrate with each step. He stopped right beside Riley, looming over her like a mountain over a pebble. "Human," he said, his voice a deep rumble that made the air vibrate. "You are in my spot." Riley looked up, her expression neutral. "There are no assigned seats in the communal dining area. Station regulations are very clear on that point. I do not care about regulations. Small thing. I care about my spot. You are in it. Move." Jin started to stand, probably planning to defuse the situation, but Riley put a hand on her arm. "We were here first," Riley said calmly. "There are 47 empty tables in this dining area. You can sit at any of them." Craraft's mandibles clicked together, a sound the Morgath make when amused or irritated. In this case, probably both. "You think you can tell me what to do? You are what, 5 feet tall? I could step on you and not notice." 5 feet 3 inches actually, Riley corrected. "And your height is irrelevant to the question of seating arrangements." Several nearby diners started moving away. When Craraft got into these moods, it was best not to be nearby. His temper was legendary, and while he usually stopped short of actual violence, usually was the key word. "Irrelevant?" Craraft leaned down, bringing his massive head closer to Riley's. "My height means I am strong. Strength is all that matters. You are weak, tiny, fragile. Your species only got space travel because you found abandoned technology, yes? You did not earn it. You are scavengers playing at being civilized." That was a low blow and completely inaccurate. Humans had developed their own space travel, though admittedly they were late to the galactic stage, but facts did not matter to Craraft. He just wanted to hurt. Riley set down her fork very carefully. "Craraft, I am going to give you one chance to walk away from this table. Not because I am afraid of you, but because I am trying to be polite." Craraft laughed. It was a horrible sound, like rocks grinding together in a garbage compactor. "Polite? What will you do if I am not polite, little human? Will you cry? Will you run to the administrators? Will you?" He reached down and flicked Riley's tray, sending her food sliding across the table and onto the floor. The ceramic plate shattered on impact, protein cubes and vegetables scattering everywhere. The dining area went completely silent. Riley stood up slowly. She still only came up to about Craraft's waist. She looked up at him with an expression I had never seen on a human face before. It was not anger exactly. It was colder than that. More calculating. "You just assaulted me," she said quietly. "Station law is very specific about physical contact without consent. That was a mistake." Craraft laughed again. "Assault? I touched your food, not you. What are you going to do about it, weak thing? Hit me?" "Yes," Riley said. "I am going to hit you. Once. That is all it will take." The entire dining area erupted in various species equivalent of laughter. A human, barely 5 feet tall and maybe 130 pounds, was threatening a Morgath warrior who weighed at least 600 pounds and stood twice her height. It was absurd. It was ridiculous. It was suicide. Craraft leaned down even further, bringing his face right next to Riley's. "Try it, human. Please. I would love to see you." Riley moved. I have watched the security footage at least 100 times since that day, slowing it down frame by frame, and I am still not entirely sure what happened. Humans call it a sucker punch, though there was nothing sweet about it. Riley's fist came up in a tight arc, rotating from her hip, her entire body weight behind the motion. She did not aim for Craraft's head or his torso. She aimed for his center mandible, the one that connected to his primary neural cluster. The impact sounded like a gunshot. Craraft's head snapped back. His legs, all 4 of them, locked rigid. His 6 eyes rolled back, showing the white membranes underneath. He made a sound I had never heard a Morgath make. A high-pitched keening that spoke of confusion and pain. Then, very slowly, like a building collapsing in slow motion, Craraft the Destroyer fell backward. His massive body hit the deck plates with a boom that shook the entire section. He did not get up. Riley stood over him, shaking her hand and wincing. "Ow," she said, conversationally. "That hurt more than I expected." Marcus rushed over with a medical kit. "Riley, what did you do?" "I hit him in the synaptic cluster. Humans call it a knockout punch, but I was aiming for neural disruption. His anatomy is different enough that I was not sure it would work." "You knocked out Craraft the Destroyer?" "Yes, I did. Can someone call medical? I think I broke 2 fingers." The next few minutes were chaos. Station security arrived. Medical teams rushed in, and the administrators started yelling at everyone to clear the area. I stayed, though. I wanted to see what would happen next. Craraft regained consciousness after about 5 minutes. The medical team had him on a stretcher, running scanners over his neural systems. He tried to sit up, saw Riley standing nearby with her hand in a medical brace, and immediately tried to lunge at her. Security restrained him. It took 6 officers and he nearly broke free twice. "You cheated," Craraft roared. "You used a weapon. You poisoned me. No human could." "I used my fist," Riley said calmly. "Station security footage will confirm that. No weapons, no poison, no tricks. Just basic human combat techniques." "Impossible. Humans are weak, fragile. You could not." "Craraft, may I explain something to you?" Riley stepped closer, ignoring the security officer's warnings. "Humans evolved on a heavy gravity world too. Not as heavy as yours, but heavy enough. We evolved as pursuit predators. Do you know what that means?" Craraft glared at her with all 6 eyes. "It means we do not give up, ever. We track prey for days, weeks if necessary, until it collapses from exhaustion. We are endurance hunters, and somewhere along the way we learned to channel that endurance into explosive power when needed. You are stronger than me in sustained force, but I am faster, more precise, and I understand leverage better than you ever will. This is not over, human." "Yes," Riley said firmly. "It is. Because if you ever threaten me or my friends again next time, I will not aim for a knockout. I will aim for permanent damage. And before you doubt that threat, remember you are currently on a stretcher because I hit you once." "Once, Craraft. Think about what I could do if I actually tried to hurt you." The medical team wheeled Craraft away, still struggling and shouting threats. Station security took Riley's statement, reviewed the footage, and concluded she had acted in self-defense. Technically, Craraft had initiated physical contact by striking her food tray. Riley had responded with proportional force. Well, disproportional force in effectiveness, but proportional in intent. "I approached her table after everything calmed down. That was remarkable," I said, "and terrifying." Riley smiled, though it looked pained. Her hand was clearly bothering her. "Thank you, I think. I really did not want to do that. I hate violence." "You hate violence? So you knocked out the most dangerous being on the station in one punch?" "Violence should always be a last resort, but when it is necessary it should be overwhelming and decisive. My grandfather taught me that. He was a soldier before humans reached the stars. Your species is not what we expected," I admitted. "The report said you were weak, soft, unsuited for conflict." Riley laughed, though it turned into a wince. "Yeah, we get that a lot. Humans are weird. We are endurance hunters who became agricultural farmers who became industrial engineers who became space travelers. We do not fit neat categories. We are fragile enough that a fall can kill us, but tough enough to survive injuries that would kill most species. We cry at sad stories but laugh in the face of danger. We are walking contradictions. What will you do now? Right now? Get my hand properly treated. Tomorrow? Probably apologize to the dining staff for making a mess. Long term?" She shrugged with her good shoulder. "Keep working on that propulsion system upgrade. Keep making friends. Keep proving that humans belong out here among the stars. And if Craraft comes after you again," Riley's smile faded, "then I will do what I did today, but harder. I really hope it does not come to that, though. I did not want to hurt him. I just wanted him to stop being a bully." I left her there with her friends, returning to my duties in the engineering bay, but I could not stop thinking about what I had witnessed. Riley Kozak, 5 feet 3 inches of human determination, had done what none of us thought possible. She had stood up to Craraft the Destroyer and won. What I did not know then was that this was just the beginning. Craraft would not let this go. His pride was wounded far worse than his neural cluster. And when a Morgath's pride is wounded, they do not just seek revenge. They seek absolute destruction. The station went quiet after the incident in the dining area. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the tense waiting kind. Like the silence before a hull breach, when the alarms have not sounded yet but everyone knows something terrible is about to happen. Craraft disappeared for 3 days. Station rumor mills worked overtime spreading stories about what he might be planning. Some said he left the station entirely too humiliated to show his face. Others claimed he was in the lower decks training and preparing for revenge. A few optimistic souls suggested maybe, just maybe, he had learned his lesson. Those optimistic souls were idiots. I saw Riley twice during those 3 days. Once in the engineering bay where she was elbow deep in a power conduit, rewiring our entire propulsion buffer system. She worked with focused intensity, barely acknowledging anyone around her. Her right hand was still in a brace, but she used it anyway, ignoring what must have been significant pain. "Should you be working with that injury?" I asked, checking the pressure readings on a nearby console. Riley did not look up from her work. "Probably not. But if I sit around doing nothing, I will just worry about what happens next. Better to keep busy." "You think Craraft will retaliate?" "I know he will. The question is when and how." She finished connecting 2 circuits and tested the connection. Green lights flickered across the panel. "Good. Morgath culture does not allow for losing face without response. He cannot just let this go. His entire identity is built on being the strongest, the most feared. I took that away from him in front of dozens of witnesses. You could leave the station, request a transfer." Riley finally looked at me. Her dark eyes were tired but determined. "No, I am not running. That just teaches bullies they can win by being scary enough. Someone has to stand up to them or they never stop, even if it gets you killed, especially then. Because if I die standing up to a bully, maybe the next person will have the courage to do the same. Maybe eventually bullies will realize the cost is too high." She returned to her work. "Besides, I do not plan on dying. I have too much to do." The second time I saw her was in the station's small gym facility. Humans apparently need regular exercise to maintain their health. Something about muscle atrophy and low gravity. Riley was running on a machine that simulated ground resistance, sweat pouring down her face, breathing hard but steady. Marcus was there too, teaching her some kind of combat technique. "Keep your guard up," Marcus said, demonstrating a blocking motion. "Craraft has 4 arms. You need to track all of them simultaneously." I know. Riley copied the motion, her braced hand moving stiffly. "But if he gets close enough that I am blocking, I have already lost. I need to stay outside his reach and strike when he overcommits." "You are talking about fighting him again?" "I am talking about surviving him. There is a difference." Riley threw a quick combination into the air, practicing the movements. The first time was a sucker punch. He was not expecting resistance. Next time he will be ready. I need to be readier. I watched them train for another 20 minutes before returning to my duties. The human capacity for preparation impressed me. Where most species would panic or flee, Riley was analyzing the threat and developing countermeasures. It was remarkably practical and slightly terrifying. Craraft reappeared on the 4th day. He looked different. His exoskeleton had been polished to a mirror shine. His red striations pulsed with bioluminescent intensity. His 6 eyes tracked movement with renewed focus. And he walked with purpose, not the casual swagger he used before. This was a warrior preparing for battle. The station rumor mill exploded. Craraft was seen in the training facilities, destroying combat dummies with single strikes. He was heard in the lower deck bars, promising to make an example of the human who embarrassed him. He filed official challenges with the station administration demanding a sanctioned duel. Riley refused each one. Dueling was optional under council law, and she saw no reason to give Craraft a legal framework for violence. That refusal made him angrier. I was in Section 12 when everything went wrong. Section 12 housed the secondary life support systems, the backups that kept air and water circulating if the primary systems failed. Riley had been called there to consult on some efficiency improvements. I was there to replace corroded piping in the water reclamation system. Riley arrived with Jin, the other human from the dining area incident. They were discussing quantum field harmonics, something about wavelength interference patterns. Technical talk that went completely over my carapace. They did not notice Craraft until he stepped out from behind a support pillar. He was not alone. 3 other Morgath stood with him. Not as large as Craraft, but still massive by station standards. They blocked all the exits from the section. This was not a random encounter. This was a planned ambush. "Human?" Craraft said, his voice echoing in the enclosed space. "We have unfinished business." Riley stopped walking. Jin stepped slightly behind her, hand reaching for the emergency communicator on her belt. But before she could activate it, one of the other Morgath moved with surprising speed and knocked it from her hand. The device shattered against the deck plates. "Just us now," Craraft continued. "No security cameras in this section, scheduled for maintenance today, conveniently. No witnesses, except your friend and Vin the maintenance engineer, and I doubt either of them will testify against me." He was right about the cameras. Section 12 was old, scheduled for a complete overhaul. The surveillance equipment had been disconnected 3 days ago. And he was probably right about me too. I am not proud of it, but Craraft terrified me. Most sane beings felt the same way. Riley evaluated the situation with remarkable calm. 4 against 1. You brought friends. Does that mean you are scared of me, Craraft? Craraft's mandibles clicked rapidly. Anger, definitely anger. I am not scared of anything, especially not a weak human. But my clan brothers wanted to witness your humiliation. They wanted to see the human who thinks she is strong brought down to her proper place. And what place is that? Broken on the deck, begging for mercy you will not receive. Craraft began circling, his forearms flexing. The other 3 Morgaths spread out, forming a loose perimeter. I have studied your species since our encounter. I know your weaknesses now. Fragile bones that break easily, soft, internal organs with no natural protection. Slow healing that takes weeks for injuries. You got lucky once, human. You will not get lucky again. Riley did not move from her spot. She just watched Craraft circle, her expression unreadable. Jin, she said quietly, when this starts, run. Get to the access tunnel on the left side of this section. It is small enough that Morgath cannot follow. Get help. Riley, I am not leaving you. You are not trained for this. I am. Please, Jin. Trust me. Jin hesitated, tears forming in her very human eyes. But she nodded. Craraft stopped circling. Touching. The weak protecting the weaker. It will not matter. You will both learn what happens when humans forget their place. He charged. Craraft moved fast for his size, all 4 arms reaching for Riley. But she was faster. She dropped low, sliding under his grasp, and struck upward as she passed. Her fist connected with what I recognized as a Morgath breathing spiracle. Not lethal but painful. Craraft wheezed, his charge turning into a stumble. Run! Riley shouted at Jin. Jin ran. One of the other Morgath moved to intercept, but Riley threw something, a wrench from her belt, that struck him in the center eye cluster. The Morgath screamed and clutched his face. Jin made it to the access tunnel and disappeared inside. Now it was 3 on 1. The 2 uninjured Morgath attacked simultaneously from different angles. Riley could not dodge both. She chose to take the hit from the smaller one, letting him grab her arm while she drove her elbow into the larger one's throat. The smaller Morgath lifted her off the ground, his grip crushing. I heard bones creak under the pressure. Riley screamed. Not in fear but in fury. She twisted in his grip, using her legs to kick off his chest, and wrenched her arm free. Something cracked audibly. Her shoulder maybe, or her wrist. But she landed on her feet and immediately rolled away as Craraft recovered and swung at her. His fist hit the deck plate where she had been, leaving a visible dent in the metal. Stay still, Craraft roared. Face your punishment with dignity. Dignity is overrated. Riley grabbed a piece of broken piping from my repair kit. Not much of a weapon, but better than nothing. She wielded it like a short staff, keeping the Morgath at distance. I prefer winning. They came at her again, coordinated this time. Craraft from the front, the other 2 from the sides. Riley had nowhere to go. She chose the least bad option, charging directly at Craraft. It surprised him. He expected her to run or dodge, not attack. That split second of surprise was all she needed. Riley slid between his legs, dragging the pipe across his primary knee joint as she passed. Morgath exoskeletons are tough, but joints are always vulnerable. The pipe scraped deep and Craraft bellowed in pain. His leg buckled, but the other 2 caught Riley as she emerged behind Craraft. They slammed her against a support pillar with enough force to crack the metal. Riley's head bounced off the pillar. Blood ran down her face from a cut above her eye. She tried to stand, but her legs would not hold her. She slumped against the pillar, breathing hard, eyes unfocused. Craraft limped over, favoring his damaged leg. Now you see, he said, his voice filled with satisfaction. Now you understand. Humans are weak. You had one lucky hit. But strength always wins. Always. Riley spat blood on the deck. Strength without intelligence is just violence. Violence without purpose is just cruelty. You are not strong, Craraft. You are just cruel. Craraft raised all 4 fists. I will break every bone in your body. You will never walk again. Never work again. You will spend the rest of your pathetic life as a warning to others. This is what happens when lesser species challenge their betters. He brought his fists down. I do not know what made me move. Maybe it was Riley's words about standing up to bullies. Maybe it was shame at my own cowardice. Maybe I just got tired of watching Craraft hurt people. But I grabbed the heaviest wrench from my toolkit and threw it as hard as I could. It hit Craraft in the back of his head. Not hard enough to hurt him. My arms are weak compared to human, or Morgath standards, but hard enough to distract him. He turned, focusing all 6 eyes on me. "You dare?" he whispered. "Oh no. What had I done?" Craraft started toward me, murder in his eyes. The other 2 Morgath moved to follow. I backed away, my leg joints trembling. This was it. I was going to die for throwing a wrench at the most dangerous being on the station. Then Riley stood up. I do not know how. She should have been unconscious, maybe dying, but humans are stubborn, impossibly irrationally stubborn. She stood, blood covering half her face, one arm hanging uselessly, breathing like a damaged air recycler. And she smiled. "Hey, Craraft," she said. "We are not done yet." Craraft turned back to her. "You can barely stand. You are finished, maybe, but I am still standing. That is what humans do. We stand up. We keep standing up. You can knock us down 100 times, and we will stand up 101. She picked up the piece of pipe again with her good hand. "Come on then, finish it. If you can't," Craraft roared and charged. Riley did not dodge this time. She could not, her body too damaged. Instead, she did something I did not expect. She threw the pipe, not at Craraft but at the damaged pressure valve I had been scheduled to replace, the valve I had marked as critical, requiring immediate attention because the pressure had built up to dangerous levels. The pipe struck the valve dead center. The valve exploded. Superheated steam hot enough to melt flesh erupted from the broken valve. Craraft ran straight into the cloud. His roar turned into a scream. He stumbled, blinded, his exoskeleton blistering from the heat. The other 2 Morgath ran forward to help him, but the steam drove them back. Riley collapsed again, this time for real. She hit the deck hard and did not move. The steam dissipated after maybe 30 seconds. The emergency systems automatically shutting down the water flow. Craraft lay on the deck, conscious but hurt badly. His exoskeleton showed severe heat damage. His breathing spiracles wheezed painfully. His 6 eyes were swollen shut. Security arrived minutes later, alerted by Jin. Medical teams rushed in. They took Riley first, her injuries extensive. Multiple broken bones, severe concussion, internal bleeding. The medics were not sure she would survive. Craraft was arrested. The 2 other Morgath who could still walk were arrested. The evidence was overwhelming. The ambush impossible to deny. The council issued an immediate ban, forbidding Craraft from all civilized stations. He would be returned to the contested zones, where his kind settled disputes without legal niceties. I gave my testimony to the investigators. Every detail, everything I witnessed. For once in my cowardly life I told the truth without hesitation. Riley spent 2 weeks in medical. Human healing is slow, but remarkably thorough. Broken bones were set and reinforced. Internal injuries were repaired. The concussion healed with time and medication. When she finally walked out of medical, she moved carefully, still sore, but alive. I met her in the engineering bay on her first day back. She smiled when she saw me. That same warm smile from before. "Then, I heard you testified against Craraft." "Thank you. I should thank you," I said. "You saved my life. I threw that wrench without thinking, and he would have killed me. You gave me the opening I needed. We saved each other." She moved to her workstation, checking the progress on the propulsion system. "Besides, you proved something important that day." "What?" "That courage is not about being fearless. It is about being terrified and doing the right thing anyway. You were scared, I could see it. But you acted. That makes you brave." "I am not brave. I am a maintenance engineer who threw a wrench." Riley laughed. It hurt her ribs, I could tell, but she laughed anyway. "Bravery comes in all sizes, Ven. Just like people. Speaking of which, I heard Craraft tried to file an appeal of his ban." "Yes. The council rejected it. He claimed you attacked him first, that he was acting in self-defense, and the investigators reviewed the evidence. They found that Craraft had deliberately disabled the security cameras. They found testimony from 17 different beings about his pattern of bullying. They found that he ambushed you with 3 others in an isolated section. The council was not impressed with his version of events." "Good." Riley pulled up schematics on her console. "He will not bother anyone on this station again. That is all I wanted." "There is more," I said. The council issued a formal apology to the human delegation. They acknowledged that station security failed to protect you from harassment. They have implemented new protocols to prevent similar incidents. Riley nodded slowly. "That is good. Really good. Maybe something positive came from all this." We worked in comfortable silence for a while. Other engineers drifted in, greeting Riley with enthusiasm. She had become something of a legend on the station. The human who stood up to Craraft the Destroyer. The tiny being who refused to back down. The engineer who proved that size does not determine worth. Marcus and Jen visited during the midday break. They brought food, real Earth food somehow acquired from a trader passing through. They ate together, laughing and talking about their next projects. Plans to improve station efficiency. Ideas for cultural exchange programs, dreams of exploring further into the galaxy. I watched them and realized something important. Humans were not stronger than other species. They were not tougher or faster or better equipped for survival. But they had something unique. They had hope. They had stubborn, irrational, impossible hope that things could be better, and they had the courage to fight for that hope, even when it seemed hopeless. 3 months later, I heard that Craraft had returned to the contested zones. He tried to reclaim his status, challenging a clan leader to ritual combat. The fight lasted less than a minute. Craraft lost badly. His injuries from the steam explosion, combined with the damage to his neural cluster from Riley's punch, had left him permanently weakened. He was no longer Craraft the Destroyer. He was just Craraft, a failed warrior with no clan and no future. I felt no satisfaction at this news. Just sadness that someone had wasted their potential on cruelty and bullying. Riley had a different reaction when I told her. "I hope he finds peace," she said. "Real peace, not the kind that comes from dominating others. Maybe losing everything will teach him what strength really means." "You are remarkably compassionate for someone who tried to kill. Holding grudges takes too much energy. I would rather spend that energy building things, making things better, helping people." She smiled. "Besides, he is not my problem anymore. The galaxy is full of problems that actually matter, like fixing propulsion systems, exactly like fixing propulsion systems. Speaking of which, I have been thinking about the warp field generators in Section 4. If we modify the resonance frequency, I think we could improve fuel efficiency by 12%. Want to help me run the calculation?" I did. We spent the rest of that day working on equations and simulations. It was peaceful, productive work. The kind of work that builds civilizations instead of tearing them down. Station Meridian returned to normal after that. Humans continued their cultural exchange, teaching us about their art, their music, their strange habit of forming emotional bonds with small animals. Riley became the station's chief propulsion engineer, implementing designs that improved efficiency across the entire Outer Rim network. Marcus started a human martial arts class, teaching interested beings the techniques Riley had used. Jen opened a restaurant serving Earth cuisine, which became surprisingly popular despite the weird ingredient. Life went on. The galaxy kept spinning, and somewhere in the contested zones, Craraft learned that true strength does not come from size or fear. It comes from standing up when standing up matters, from protecting those who cannot protect themselves, from refusing to let bullies win. Riley Kozak taught us all that lesson. She stood 5 feet 3 inches tall, weighed barely 130 pounds, and changed an entire station with one punch and a refusal to back down. That is humanity. Small, fragile, impossibly stubborn, and absolutely, undeniably worthy of walking among the stars. I am Ven, maintenance engineer for the Outer Rim Trading Consortium, and I witnessed the day Craraft the Destroyer fell and never stood again. Not because of his physical injuries, though those were severe, but because Riley Kozak showed all of us, that cruelty is weakness wearing a mask of strength. True strength lifts others up. It builds instead of destroys. It creates instead of breaking. And it always stands up to bullies, even when it is terrified, even when it seems hopeless, even when you are just 5 feet 3 inches tall with nothing but courage and a really good right hook.